right, as it was said, let's get this road on the show. Kellie's back with us. I'm back with you. We are back for Difficult Podcasters. The episode is the season ending for season 2, which means we're going to jump right into season 3 after this. So exciting. Kellie, how are you feeling overall? And our show itself, we did a lot of extra fun stuff too. We did a holiday episode, a year in review episode, and then we said, during the new year, we're going to jump out there and we're going to be the best that we can be. And that did not happen. I mean, it might have happened for you, but it did not happen for me.
I mean, we are called Difficult Podcasters for a reason, and I think our name rings true as far as, there's, life is difficult. There's difficult situations that arise, and, things happen all the time. And I think, we do our best to power through and push through. But I mean, I think our show has been really fun, and I love the extra things that we've gotten to do. And I hope we get to do more stuff.
As we jump into the finale episode here, I want to ask you 2 questions. One, I want you to talk about the importance and the power of the bond that is having dogs, because you have a couple, so I want to know all about them. And then the second thing, I want you to tell me what TV shows and or movies that you're watching right now.
Okay, yes, I have actually
because we all know she's not watching the new Sex in the City.
Oh,
no way, no how. She's not going to do it.
Hate that show so much. Like I hate it.
I'm pushing through, but anyways, let's hear about your dogs. And then because you tend to be a big TV movie buff, so I want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I have 4 dogs, which, whom I love to death. One of my babies just had surgery, but she has recovered really well. She's pushing about 11 years old. So I'm, been kind of worried about her. I know, the years are limited and I'm so not ready, but hopefully she'll give me another 10 years.
Yeah.
She's precious. But the boys, I've got 3 boys now, and they are just a hot mess, as boys usually are.
A dig already this early. Damn it, Kellie.
But I've got a Great Pyrenees now who's 82 pounds. He's a huge dog compared to the other little ones. There's a mini poodle and like a peekapoo, and they're just, I have to separate them. I can't keep them together. It's a pain in the ass because they want to fight. Not the big dog. The big dog, poor thing, is just getting bullied by these 2 little dogs. But we're working on that. We need to get a behaviorist to work on that.
And it's always a good thing.
Overall, I love them all, and I hope to have an animal rescue one day.
That's nice. I like that.
And as far as my TV shows, I'm watching so many, actually. I recently, I tried to watch Sex and the City. Absolutely could not do it. Don't like it at all.
I think it's going to pick up momentum. You don't even see that happening?
My sister was trying to tell me the same thing. And there's just, what I'm so disappointed in is that I would have loved to see Che Diaz's character be a part of the group as a separate storyline. I don't like the regression I see from these characters. It's like their mentality is 30 something being 50 something, and I don't like it. It just, to me, it shows that there's no progression as you get older, and nobody learns shit, and that you just go back to your same old shit when stuff gets bad.
I hope it doesn't go that way.
I hope
I hope not, because it's seeming it's going that way.
I know, I'm so disappointed in that.
Every year it gets tougher, not easier.
I would want, to see that character be themselves in whatever that capacity is, and not as like a homewrecker, a cheater, and basically, pushing forth these stereotypical things that we usually see in this type of storyline. Regardless of the gender of the other person, I don't like it. I would have just loved to see that character and learn about that lifestyle and what that entails, and how it's changing society, and how everyone is accepting and not, and just watching them be them and educate people on all of that. Like there's just so much possibility, and I think it all went to shit with this cheating storyline. It makes me very sad.
Yeah, well, there's other bad, not bad things, but reviews that are unfavorable. So you're not the only one, and it's not identified as one specific reason. It's some people are like, oh, they don't look like they're having fun anymore. Some are like, you know, friends are popping in and out. We don't get no actual reason as to why. So yeah, you're allowed not to like it. I do want to watch the HBO series The Gilded Way with Christine
I do want to
Baranski.
watch that. Yes.
Okay, we'll watch it and then we'll text each
Yeah.
other.
I
It feels good, doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah.
And I started watching Bridget Everett's Somebody Somewhere. Is that her name,
I
Bridget?
haven't
Yeah.
started that yet.
Yeah, I watched
How
that
is it?
2 episodes. I think you're gonna enjoy it. I think it's gonna be something tasteful for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Tasteful, is
Well,
that the
I
word?
finished,
Tasting,
yeah,
like
I
nourishing.
finished Yellowstone, so I'm, jonesing for that to start back again. But
Any movies?
I just recently watched a movie that came out a few months ago. That's an independent movie that Justin Long did with his brother. It's called Lady of the Manor. It's a comedy. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's a silly movie, but it was like I had a lot of literally laughing out loud moments in it. Judy Greer's in it, Melanie Linsky, who I love, Justin's in it, obviously, and Ryan Phillippe, hilarious.
Okay.
Like, it's like a ghost story, but it's a comedy. It's this, you usually see like the slacker guys, that are couch potatoes and don't really have their shit together. But this time it's a girl. It's Melanie's character. And she's just a crude drug dealing, girl with no direction, and gets a job giving tours at this historic mansion. And she's haunted by the original lady of the manor.
Oh.
Who's Judy Greer. So it's really funny. She tries to turn her into a lady, and it's a whole thing. But it turned out to be a lot funnier than I expected it to be. I think it's gotten some pretty harsh reviews, but it you got to take it for what it is. It's funny. And I actually laughed out loud in a lot of parts. And I'm not a big like fart joke person. I genuinely don't like them. But the way that they did some of these in this movie was really funny.
Do you fart yourself?
Of course not. What are you talking about?
So you don't fart in public or with the
Never
lover?
at all. I don't do it at all.
Really? You don't? I mean, I know you do, but okay. So if you have to do it, where do you take it, to the bathroom?
I mean, I try, or like in an area by myself, you try. And that's kind of one of the things that she learns as a lady, that you try to remove yourself from mixed company and go off to the side if that's something that you have to do at that moment. So, but every time she does it, she goes into what she thinks is an empty room, and it never is.
Oh, geez.
So that's kind of what makes it funny. But yes, so yeah, that's what I would try to do, is try to excuse myself, or, try my best to, hold it till I can get alone, or, whatever. But sometimes, you just got to let it rip. Okay,
good. I want to know that you're like the rest of us. Yeah. And also, if you do it a lot, you do got to question yourself. You got to say, why the heck am I so gassy? Not even like there's something wrong. With my diet? Yeah. What's wrong with your diet? Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong, but like, you have to be mindful of the things you choose to eat.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like to let them go. Good thing we're not roommates or anything like that, because you'd been blown up.
Yeah, but I recommend it if you want something fun to watch. Like I said, it's not gonna, it is what it is. It's a comedy. It's really funny. Ryan Phillippe's really funny in it, and I just would recommend it if you want to watch it. It came out like in September, I think. But
and my last question for you, since I'm just grilling you right now, as it's like a New Year vibe. Obviously, it's not the New Year. It's been some time, but is there anything going forward you want to see within this podcast, aside from it being on time?
I mean, I kind of want to see myself personally get my shit together and get get more on the schedule, but But
you've talked about that you've been listening to a couple more podcasts. So are you starting to tell me about that?
I've been listening to a few from, notable people and some more storytelling, and it's very interesting. I feel that the thing that most people do, which I find really interesting, is they just like start. There's not an intro, and it takes you kind of a minute to figure out what's going on, but maybe that's the point, is to draw your attention so you focus. So it's interesting to hear that. And some do the whole intro at the beginning. Some just start a conversation and the intro's at the end. Like the flow of it has been kind of all over the place, honestly. So I think we're doing good.
There's a ton of different styles too. I was doing, I should tell you, this is exciting. I was doing a podcast review on my YouTube channel with my brother. First time in the history of ever doing any type of podcast. And it is interesting, like what you're saying, there's all these different styles. And I only asked Kellie this question up the top to kind of see where she wants to go, creatively, where you want to go, because that will help me. But what's interesting is we were doing this podcast, me and my brother, like I said, it was the MTV and Paramount Plus is the challenge. So it's on the TV and we watch it and we review it, right? My brother, just as a side note, I've been in broadcast for darn near 20 years. My brother has had no interest in any of it. So it's the one item that we could kind of come together. I like Janet Jackson. He likes sports. We're completely different.
Yeah.
But the challenge has been like this awesome thing for us to come together. But I will tell you, Kellie, the podcasters who review that show, I was also studying up on them, like you said, different styles. They all talk like it's a sports wrap up. And to a degree it is, because it's a very physical show. But I remember listening to ours. I was so proud of me and my brother. But then the other people who recap this type of show, they're very like, and in the challenge, you have this person. And it was like a very staccato-y, I don't know. I felt more natural. It was fun. I guess it sounded like I'm shitting on them. I'm not. I'm just aware of all the different styles. Well, hopefully we do better.
Well, it makes me feel better actually about it, because I kind of thought we were a little bit too all over the place, but it's nice to hear that we're not. That it's kind of in line with the style of what is comfortable. And I've, had people listen to us and genuinely tell me what they think about how we sound, what we talk about, and if it's interesting, or if we just go off on too many tangents, or, just kind of getting real constructive criticism. And, it's been very positive that it feels like they're sitting in the living room, like listening to it. And I like that. I want it to be comfortable. I want us to be able to talk about whatever, whenever, as it relates to the shows that we're watching, because that's the thing that I love so much about film and television, is that I use it as therapy for myself. Honestly, I get to kind of take emotions, whatever I'm feeling, bury myself in some of my favorite characters, and then look back on how I can relate to them, what about it is pulling me in or not, and kind of reflect on certain things. So I love to be able to dissect those character developments that way.
You're so right, because the show themselves and the characters make you feel, I don't want to say it, but like not as alone in certain situations.
Yeah. Definitely.
This particular run, I usually, as I always state to our fan, to our listening audience, that, oh, hello, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, things stopped, but I guess I could keep going. Yes.
Yeah. Fine over here.
Well, it was really pretty behind me a second ago. Now it's not, but let's just keep going. I guess somebody needs to pay for my Venmo. This is a perfect time to say, if you want to support this podcast, go to ViridianRow.com. Creativity never goes out of style, and the lights apparently stay on over at Viridian Row. The best quote t-shirts you're going to get, and a bunch of other artist pieces.
One. It wasn't just a puppy.
Oh,
quote.
I like it.
John Wick, if you're a fan.
Huh?
As it's from the John Wick franchise. Like, I love John Wick movies.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves just kicking ass. It's amazing.
There you go.
But yes, lots of fun movie quote shirts. So go check them out.
I don't even remember what I was saying, but all of a sudden this prettiness that was behind me, it's not here no more. But let me keep going, because our Audible people are not worried about that anyways. What was I saying, Kellie?
Oh, talking about why you're asking, wait, did I just forget and lose my train of thought?
Okay,
no,
I'll keep
we're
going.
talking about characters and how we relate to the emotions.
Oh, yeah. I was saying the show comes out in 2015. Yeah. I'm going back to watch it before we do our recap here. We'll start it in a second. And I'm like watching consecutive episodes, so like binge worthy. And I couldn't like, it was as if some jokes came out of nowhere again. It felt like I was watching it for the first time. So to your point, it feels really good. But let's get into it. So Billy has emotions, but does he have emotions, or is it because the city is on high alert? And when the city gets on high alert, things do change.
Absolutely. And I think that it makes everyone go through emotions that they may not have realized that they had, which is fun to kind of see that unravel through this entire episode. Like, how do you navigate that? I mean, it was such a very interesting time in our lifetime having to go through that and be aware of all of these things. And it was scary, but you don't really want to be scared. So how do you make light of something like that without making fun of it? Right.
Yeah.
And I think in this episode, they, kind of like towed that line, but I felt like I wasn't offended by it. I hope you guys as viewers weren't offended by that episode and the things that happened. And the way that, Julie kind of dealt with it at the time, and how she, dealt with the emotions that go into, having to be, fear for real terrorism in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone, it was looking back on the situation. Everyone deals with it differently. For that particular time, I was not in New York City. I was in Los Angeles, which, still equally, I guess you would say the second largest city. So there's like such trepidation, but I couldn't imagine for the people who were living in New York, and how they want to make jokes about it later. You have got to let that be. I know tons of friends who some speak on it very openly. Some will not never, but you know what I mean? It's just a thing. That's our Julie though. Our Julie does find a way to make humor out of it. And I don't think that story is unspoken about. I think there's lots of girls and guys who have, in other situations of darkness, have had to turn to letting out steam in some kind of way. But that was so good for her.
Yeah, physical connection with another person, no matter how fleeting it might be, can be a very powerful thing for mental state, for just like emotional state in a positive and or negative way. So it's very interesting to see how people kind of navigate that and how they use it to their benefit if they can, which I think is what we saw Julie do.
Yeah. And the episode itself does break down just how, if that were to be a man, no one would bat an eye. So there was like a big difference in that too.
Yeah, and that's something that has always frustrated me personally. And I know, I mean, I can obviously only speak for myself, but a lot of my friends, a lot of women that I know professionally and personally, like it's such a ridiculous double standard. And it just, I hate that it's still a thing to this day. I really do. But, a man can go off and, just add notches to the bedpost or whatever you want to call it. And, he's applauded for it. And, a woman uses her sexuality for whatever she chooses to use it for, and she's immediately condemned for it. And that's just such a backwards way of thinking, I think. And I've really never understood why people are so obsessed with who someone is sleeping with. Like, who cares? I've never cared. Like, why is that such an obsession? Like, why is it such a thing? Like, I don't care what goes on behind closed doors. That ain't none of my business. And it doesn't have anything to do with what's happening outside of the bedroom unless I'm personally involved.
Maybe it's a sense of feeling better than the next person. Like, if that's where the intention of the shame comes from.
But is it more like your own shame if you're so worried about it? Like, if you think about it like that? Like if I'm so worried about what goes on in your bedroom, it's more my problem than it is yours, right?
Yeah, it's like you're listing, this is bad, this is disgusting, and you're involved in it, and I want nothing to do with you, which basically could be your viewpoint, but it takes the spotlight off you. I think maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I've never I mean, I was lucky growing up that my mom was never shy to talk to me about sex. And I mean, she wasn't like overly, graphic about it or anything, but we always had such a very open dialogue with it that I was never, I mean, I told her when I lost my virginity, like we talked about things like that, and we have like throughout my life. And I appreciate that so much, especially seeing stuff like this, because I was something I was never ashamed of, and I never really worried about because it was not talked about like that at our house.
That's good.
So it never made me like have this. So when I see that, I just like, I've never been able to understand it. Like, you do you, whomever you choose to sleep with, him, her, they, them, whatever, do you. It has absolutely nothing to do with me, nor does it change my opinion of you. Yeah. I wish, like, I can't wait for the day that that's not a thing. Like everybody needs to look at themselves and worry about what's happening in their bedroom. If there's nothing happening, then get on an app, do something, figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is. You pose a great question. Why are we like that? It does seem like we just try not to talk about these things. So then when people talk about them,
all people talk about,
right? Don't look down. It's that, you know what I mean? Like, don't look down. It's like, you know, and half the things when you think about people who are, let's say, arguing or having differences of opinion, which seems to be something really big on Twitter now, and everyone's just always this and this. It's like, if you were to just not make that heavy of an opposition and do what you do, but have your own opinion of it, there wouldn't be such a back and forth. You know, I'm a big fan of the dismissal. Just give them a dismissal. Like, I tell you that all the time. Don't I tell you that when we talk about Kanye West? I'm like, if there's a Kanye story, I want nothing to do with it, because that is what he's. I mean, this is obviously jumping topics to a degree. If somebody is seeking that attention, you just give them a little dismissal. But that's the thing with the talking about what goes on in the bedroom. We say not to do it, then it becomes a polarizing back and forth. I don't know, but go ahead, Julie. She was good. I thought Billy was good for stepping. Okay,
there it is. It's back. Oh, just kidding. See, guys, this is the difficultness that we live through.
Give me one moment.
Okay.
This episode's on pause. I'll be right back.
And the difficulties continue.
Felt like a momentary. Yeah.
That's what I love so much about us. You know what? Shit happens and we're going to roll right through it.
Yeah, one day I hope it doesn't, though. One day I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it would be us if it stopped.
Well, it's often said, oh, why do you have such a personality that's so similar to the two of them? You know, people are like, oh, their personality is not very nice. I'm like, it is very nice. It's when you're dealing with a bunch of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And, which brings us to Julie's article. So she was supposed to do one of her recaps. She wasn't able to watch the show that she needed a recap. So instead of making something up, she decides that she's just going to publish this article that she had written about how she dealt with the aftermath of what happened during 9/11. And her editor doesn't really look at what she sends, just posts it up. So she ends up writing this article about how she used sex to get herself through it. Like, she just had a bunch of consensually random sex and blowjobs. Sorry. So
yeah,
yeah. I mean, don't let me say that. But
yeah,
and that's I think it's interesting that sex, like I was saying, sex is such a powerful thing. It can make you feel like shit, and it can make you feel fantastic, depending upon how you choose to use it. But she's owning her sexuality. She just wants to forget about what's going on and occupy her mind in something pleasurable. So she does. And she writes about it, and she starts getting, sort of condemned for it. And we start to see that big stereotype kind of come to life.
And that's the best piece of work, though, because it's something that I don't think she only got condemned for it. I thought a lot of people enjoyed it and were empowered by it.
Yeah.
So it does speak to, she's in that rut. Her job is, because she's not a real writer, she has to do stupid recaps, and then she took this wonderful but terrible opportunity while something was going on, where she saw the high alert and she's like, no, this is what I'm going to do. So I like that we get these situations for Julie where she may have not done that. She may have not utilized this. Like, she was sort of provoked to do this. And now you're saying that you totally feel like she got shunned because of it.
Well, I mean, I feel like
society's standards.
It overshadowed it a little bit, but it did, bring awareness to that. And I think that there is definitely an empowering point to it for sure. And, just owning your sexuality and brave enough to talk about it, and just saying, look, this was something terrible that happened in the world. This is how I chose to deal with it. And it helped me kind of work through all the emotions that I was feeling about it. And it turns out that when Arthur read it, he was really jealous, and it happened before they met, before their relationship, but he couldn't let it go. And that is part of that stereotypical problem, is that now that's all he sees, right? So he can't distinguish where their relationship is now versus what happens in the past, because now he's going through all of his insecurities and it becomes a thing.
It's
and I
his
think
thing.
That's what everyone.
Yeah.
It's everyone, anybody that might be offended or something by that, it's more about your problems with those sort of things. And if it's not your bag, it's not your bag, don't do it. But,
Well,
let people have their journey.
He could have suspected because he did see what types of films she watches. So he could have assumed before Arthur, took flight. There was some other stuff going on, but it was a very specific time, and good for her for getting that out there. She gets the attention from Josh Gad's company, Gadzooks, and it kind of
love so much.
Because the department store, correct?
Oh yeah, there was this department store that I used to shop at with my cousin called Gadzooks all the time when I was like, my late teens. And it was kind of like, I'm dating myself, but it was kind of like, a Wet Seal back in the day, or Charlotte Russe, or, whatever the equivalent is nowadays, like Zara. Well, no, I think Zara is more expensive, but it's like, one of those trendy stores.
Do you know what other show had a Gadzooks reference though?
What?
How to Make It in America.
Oh, that's right.
Remember when they met Kirsten and Kristen, and they had a potential to get a big order at Gadzooks, but that really wasn't what they were going for, because they wanted, the authentic New York City
but
stuff.
It was the same store, and I think I talked about it when we talked about that.
Kelly and I have been recapping for so long, but yet,
oh my God,
you see, where's this? This is what I'm looking for. Put it right here.
But it was great. But I love Julianne Moore's character, and I love that it was all redheads, right? You're so used to seeing like these executives that are all bubbly blondes, and we get a group of redheads that was amazing, and her character was hilarious.
Who were quite mean, even.
Yeah,
they're like, it's so great.
Snotty little redheads.
They were nice, but they were mean. It was almost like a little bit too much of a yes person around, each other. Mm-hmm. But it was even the way they would talk to her. They're like, we really like the way you're empowered to speak about all of these activities, especially being so not fit. It would make you feel as a reader, well, at least I'm not as fat as she is. Like, that was their way to empower her. Like, it's like, Julie, somebody does need to give Julie a hug, I suppose.
But it's like when people like say it, like insult you in that way, you can't help but to be like, wow.
Yeah, no, and they do that too, like, within you, and let's say, you're this body weight, and then you gain a bunch of weight or whatever the case. It's like they want you to just shut it down and just go be eating the bonbons and watching Married with Children. But sometimes people will just make it move at any style, like, you know what I mean, whether they're looking good, whether their job's good, they just keep it going.
But sometimes again, that goes into, I'm sorry to cut you off, that goes into the stereotype, because men can gain weight, lose weight, and all of that, and it's not as focused on, oh, look at this fat picture of so and so today, and I saw it's so, because I saw this on Twitter today, that was Alicia Silverstone pulled up a photo of herself. She did like a video of herself, like it's a photo of herself, and on the caption was literally like a little fat day photo, like was in the caption of a photo of her, and she's not fat, like, if the dress that she was wearing might have given off that she had a little bit more. Regardless, like, who puts a caption like that? And but there is, and that's today, like in 2022, like that was the caption today. And I saw her post about it, and she did a little video of herself popping up and like flipping off the camera, which I thought was amazing, because that's just like, fuck you.
Well, like, it all started when we asked, not us, but when it would be shows or the entertainers would have a new product. They'd be like, tell me what you think. And what did I always say? I don't want to know what you think. I don't care. Kelly, on the other hand, is like, tweet me your opinion. Don't tweet me your opinion. I don't give a shit.
But I do want to know. So if you're thinking like that, I can tell you, what the fuck?
Well, that's a good balance.
Get your head out of your ass. Come on. This is not the world we want to live in. Like, what the fuck?
See, and just when we worried if the podcast wasn't doing well, I like that right there. That was all of it. This is what they come here for. Our one fan.
Yeah, but it's sad that it's still happening. I mean, this show was 2015. This is still happening now. I mean, and Melanie Lynskey that we were talking about earlier for that movie that I just watched, there was an article that came out about her like a couple days ago, that her character in a show that she's on is getting, smashed because they don't think that she's sexy enough to be with the hot guy character on the show. Like, there's no way he would be interested in her because she's fat. And she's not fat.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
but in real life, I know a couple of guys that are in great shape, and the woman is, she's just not as fit or whatever. I don't know how you would describe it.
I mean, I've never been the fittest. I've never been the thinnest. I've never been the hottest. I've never been any of that, but I've put some pretty hot guys. So fuck everybody that says some shit like that. Like,
and I vow not to co-sign that, only because all the other times I would tell I'd be like, Kellie, you don't know, she was back in the day, she, our bond. And then it occurred to us, it occurred to Kellie, it occurred to me. Oh, we'll decipher the credit later. No, it occurred to us that if you didn't know the dynamic, you would hear every episode me saying, yeah, Kellie was a big old slut. And it wasn't that, it was just that we were really close and we had all these memories. I always talk about my liaisons as well. Is that the word, liaisons? Yeah, I always just talk about, yeah.
But I hate that that's the message that's going out in the world still today to these young women, even, that there's, I'm happy that there's more inclusion and we've got, a lot more full-figured women that are out in the, in the public eye and that are showcasing that, women are beautiful no matter what. And I love that message. And it just makes me sad when, critics and, and actual TV critics and people, not just like the trolls online or, everybody that thinks they're a journalist, just because they have an Instagram or whatever, but like legitimate, writers that work for reputable papers are saying shit like this. Like, it just like that needs to stop.
That's in part because of the headline. They want to do it
it's
so
the clickbait.
Headlining, which I've always said I vow against, yet then my career has taken such a hit. And then when I tell people that, they're like, no, you don't have a big following. It's like, but I'm telling you, I literally never, to my knowledge, do anything in that vein, unless I'm gonna give it up and really go at a situation. But I typically always feel like I want my work. And even with us, what do we say about our show? It's a delightfully brazen recap podcast. In the heart of hearts, we don't say shit about anybody. But if you have a dumb haircut, we're going to say that is a stupid haircut. Why would you get such a dumb haircut? That's our show. But
but to be like, outright hurtful is just, it's not okay. I mean, it just isn't. Like, discussing people's choices and wondering why they might have made those, that's a discussion. That's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, people are mean, everybody's mean, everybody rags on everybody. That's just kind of how it goes. But do you always have to put somebody else down to be funny? Like, is that the only way to be funny? Is that the only way to get attention, is when you're insulting someone else?
I think more than anything is stop the clickbait, knock it off, stop it. Everyone does it. It shouldn't have been that way. Like, the reputable programs and journalists should have stuck to what they did. And then remember, back in the day, there was always the Star. My grandma used to love the Star, the Inquirer. She'd love the Star. And you take it with a grain of salt. Now it doesn't work that way. Now Twitter will be like, I heard, who did you hear it from?
Right. Everybody, as soon as you heard something, it's just automatic fact. And there's nobody does any research. Like, nobody does. It's
you had asked the question a bit ago. You're like, do you think Billy and Julie could be difficult people? Could they be a great show in 2021? I still think they could. I really still think they could. I don't have much to really back it, I guess, but I just feel like they always have the right things. They nudge just enough. And yes, it's a more sensitive time, which sometimes makes it hard for us to recap the show. Lola said some unmentionable stuff, but she said it in a way that was funny because she's been kind of giving us these little nuggets, and then she stepped in shit, basically. And so I think the way it's done, that was bad. It just makes it like, this is kind of the satire that we like, I guess, kind of a deal. So
and I mean, and they go through so many things. And I think that, to come back to the insecurities that this letter caused for Arthur, I think Billy had such a nice, like, straightforward conversation with him that was just like, don't dwell on that shit. Like, as long as you focus on, what's happening now and you do good, you don't have to worry about that ever happening again. So, just let it go, basically. And I just love that kind of, like, laid it out. Here's the deal. Like, what are you worried about? Can't change what happened. Why are you going to dwell on that shit?
I'm trying to think about it too, because he does include, he's like, you're doing it to women and this is what this feels like. And then he was kind of giving his own experiences. He's like, yeah. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, gay guys, it's very Eskimo brothers almost anyways. I don't know if that's even a term you really should be using anymore, but you see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, do what you do. And when you arrive, within me. We'll just go from there. Is that the wrong word? Your microphone cut off.
Alrighty then. That's where we're going.
Was that more Patreon content instead? I keep jumping the gun there. All right. You took it the wrong way is what you did. That's what you
okay.
did.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll go with that.
You're the only one who thought that. You and your wows, putting extras on it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Just me. My bad.
I didn't say nothing wrong. I was just agreeing with Billy. That's what I was doing. I was agreeing with Billy.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah. That was your bad. You messed up. It's a drinking game. Let's go.
Oh shit.
We do need to drink on one of our episodes, though. We haven't.
Again, we drank wine. Yes, we had a wine drinking episode.
That was the best one.
On the next one.
Yeah, we need to. Maybe in a couple episodes from now, but yes. Okay, moving on. So what else do we have? Oh. Just like when I hated, and I say hate as a strong word, but I hated the young friend, the one that Julie used to babysit. And she's like, you just need to try a little harder. You just need to believe in yourself, because she goes from the young generation where she's like, oh, forget a network. I'll make it on my phone. She was that type of girl. Well, it kind of bugged me this episode because we had another girl who was dumb as dirt, and she made what was her thing? I don't know what it was.
Stuff on the guinea pig's head, or she was doing something with the guinea pig.
And that's supposed to be funny. That's supposed to be compelling.
Well, if I had nothing else to do but fuck around with the guinea pig, I mean, I could be a millionaire too.
I don't think you would even have you wouldn't have the nerve to do it. You wouldn't.
My brain would never go there.
I know you. We could talk that way. We could talk that way like it's about if we had the time. I don't even think it's that, Kelly. No, I think you are too cool of a human being to do that. It's like for me, I've never ever once I've never done a boomerang except for a sarcastic version of one where me and my radio co-host, we went like we did a move and then we did it 3 times and then it looked like a boomerang because we turned them, you couldn't hear nothing. We didn't make no noise. And then we laughed it out, which people were like, what the heck? Because they thought it was an actual boomerang. So it was a make fun of a boomerang because they're so stupid. I'm not 12. And I've also never laughed ever at a cat video. What are you calling me?
No, I said I've done a boomerang.
Oh, well, you're prettier than me. You're prettier.
For the tequila company, we used to have like a ski that had shot glasses that we made shots that I would do with that. So
yeah. Okay, fine. I'm the enemy of fun.
You've never laughed at a cat video. I find that hard to believe.
Never laughed at a cat video, but then I do have a 95-year-old grandmother sense of humor because I watched on what is it on Fox? Maya Bialik has a show called Call Me Cat. It's warm-hearted. So it's not like I'm completely like this person. I watch Call Me Cat with Maya Bialik and laugh at good-hearted humor, sitcom, network TV humor, and nobody watches network TV, right? Except for 95-year-old grandmothers and Ronnie. So it's not like I don't have a sense of humor, but it's just a cat video or the worst is like, TikTok. I better stop. I'm just saying I related to Julie's frustration that she reads in the headlines that this girl signed a CAA. What a crock of shit, Kelly.
Well, and can we talk about this writer? Okay, so she goes to meet with the redheads, right, for Josh Gad.
Yes.
And they want to option her article, and they bring in a writer to help her turn it into a script.
Yeah.
And the writer that they bring in, he is amazingly ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I love the character so much. He's so out there and so like crazy. And Julie's just like, what the fuck?
That's Richard Kind for you.
Plays him. What's his name escapes me right now.
Richard Kind.
Yes, I love him so much. Richard Kind. He is so funny. I think that any the bit parts that he's shown, the cameos he's done. I feel like he always steals the show. He's just always so funny.
Yeah. What was the key part of that character? I think his name was Harry. What was the key part that would have drove you up the wall? Because everything he said, Julie hated. What bugged you?
I mean, all of it. Just like the disregard for just any sort of boundaries or manners or anything. All of it. It's just it was crazy. So out overly eccentric, but it was great to watch.
I didn't realize he used the PUSSY word.
Yes.
As a name.
Yes.
I mean, some people call her Red. Denise calls her Red. Okay. The ginger over there, but he called her.
Yeah.
And so Arthur, what he have to do? He had to regulate. He had to
They
regulate.
had to stick up for his woman.
Yeah, and that's because Billy gave him that good food for thought. Really, Billy educated him as like, I mean, you're gonna be like, if you don't get it together, you're gonna be someone in her past. You won't even be somebody in her future
Right.
for now.
Yeah.
Which is so good of him. So you have the funniest scene with Arthur and Harry, Richard Kind.
Yeah.
Slap boxing, I guess.
Yes, just like
Enough to the point where it leaves a bruise on his eye, though. The joy that these scenes,
I loved it.
The joy that these scenes bring on it when Kellie and I talk kind of negatively, and we'll try to talk better about ourselves, but we'll talk negatively about, oh God, the show and this podcast, and we never get it right, and our timing and all the BS. But then it's this one thing, well, a couple things that really tie it together is when I get to rewatch this show, laugh at it, and then share in the memory with you and people, difficult people. It's like, that's the worthwhile cause of it all, I think.
No, and it was great. And she goes back and she's like, I really can't work with this writer. Like, it's just not working out for me. So they're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll get somebody else then. So she's thinking to get somebody else for her.
Cool.
But they fire her and they get somebody else to write with Richard, and it turns out to be that little guinea pig bitch.
Oh my gosh, the disrespect.
18-year-old is gonna write about her life. Like, what the fuck?
The disrespect of this TikTok overnight celebrity or whatever, who's rep by CAA, and you got Julie pounding the pavement for year after year after year after year after year, and this person's gonna write in my voice. F you. But then it comes to a situation where she ends up kind of having to become a little bit of a sellout. Or how did you get?
I mean, it boils down to, like, do you want the payout from this, or they're gonna do it anyway. So do you want to get something? Because now they have the material, right? So they're either going to copy it and do some sort of version of that same story where you get nothing, or do you want a piece of it? Because that's kind of what happens. And I've seen shit like that happen a lot in like real life. And, it just boils down to having those conversations. Well, look, it's not going to go the way you want it to. It's not. So you can take it, do something yourself, shop it around, do something yourself. They're going to take a version of this because they've already read it. And that's what happens. Yeah. They'll change a few names, change some shit, but it'll basically be the same story, right? And it's just, do you want to, get something or nothing? What are you going to do?
And you're protective of your art, though. I get it.
Absolutely.
You're protective of your art. By the end of it, it's going to be Angela Lansbury is going to be playing the Julie character. And everyone wants to see that,
Yeah, totally. So and that's, she's having that heart to heart with Billy. And it's like, are you mad at me for selling out? He's like, fuck no. Whatever. Just, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. And
he said,
and that's what I love so much about their friendship.
He said at the end of season 1's finale, the Christmas episode, he said, you got to eat shit either way, or something like, it's just a matter of what you're willing, what type of shit you're willing to eat. Because it's, I mean, very rarely is it everything on the up and up. Like, it's going to be either a ton of hours doing things on your own and creating on your own, or working with the people that you want more on the independent side, or you're doing it with, a little bit of financial backing, but you don't have as much of a say. Both ways are going to be kind of challenging, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's really ever easy, no matter what anybody tells you. Like,
but if you could stick with it, that's good. So if she could stick with it. He also felt like he was doing a little bit of moral adjustment as well. They're at the wedding
bachelor party. The bachelor party. I love this because Matthew's husband to be was making him so uncomfortable at this bachelor party. It was hilarious that there was somebody that could actually get under Billy's skin like that and offend him in a lot of these, sexual way, like, on the way that he was speaking. And it was awesome to see him kind of squirm. And, when Arthur shows up and they have that conversation, he's like, get out of here, save yourself.
And he's like, zip it up. I love the way on one single episode, well, his last episode, Elmer, which was Matthew was going to marry Elmer, court changed. I like that you were able to see so much. You only got to see his brash, loud and outspoken wit and humor, and slightly sexual, but then within the course of the episode, we also get texture within the character Elmer too. Like he's a real person. It's just he's maybe choosing to live the end of his life a little bit more.
Well, he's living his best life at this point, and that's, he has that conversation with Billy that's like, it didn't matter how long it took, but I finally got to the point in my life where I was genuinely happy. And you can't just, give up and just be cynical for your whole life. Like, you got to embrace it, take it as it is, and no matter how old you are or where, if you're going to be happy, you can't give up on it, basically, is what he's saying.
Well, this was not a good sign for me then, because can I tell you, in that exchange, I was siding so emotionally with everything Billy said. And then when Elmer said what, his reply, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I didn't say it. I don't agree. But I did agree. I agreed so much. And that's, I'm being honest about it, is how you could fall so much into that, where you find every bit of, I like to call them reasonings instead of excuses. You find the reasons that justify everything. So an interesting person to call you out. That's not even your friend. That's not his people. That's not his bestie. That's not his family. It's an acquaintance, but it's somebody who actually did march the same steps that he marched. Billy always felt like he was so different and above Elmer is what it was. So it was just good. It was good for them to kind of see each other. Oh, and we saw Elmer's redhead.
Yes, Elmer's BFF, which was, kind of like gives you a little bit of a flash forward to what Billy and Julie could potentially end up being, being those, besties for life. And, it was funny to watch that. And if you, and that could be taken, positively or negatively, right? That she's, she's showing up by herself. So, she's just there to be with him. And, but I thought, having a friendship like that lasts through the ages is definitely something to aspire to, I think.
I've heard that they say soulmates could be dressed up in different ways. We typically only think your soulmate is your romantic interest, but a soulmate could be a friend, different elements of connection, as far as really just a mate who connects with your soul. Yeah. And you guys, it's good for you for the two of you to have each other, or maybe more than one, in each other's lives. But we always put that in a romantic setting, but I think it's a little deeper than that. And we see that with the late Elmer and that lady. And then
I've been very fortunate to have a few, a couple of people that have been, I've been friends with for years and years. I mean, one of my really good friends, we've been friends since high school, and he's one of the only people that I can speak like the most honestly with, like probably, aside from you and the way we talk on here, no holds barred, but
I know,
we actually
editing this
have real, rip the Band-Aid off conversations about real things, and anxieties and all these things, and it's such an easy conversation to have. And just in the same way that Billy and Julie talk, like it's nice to be able to have that. And I'm lucky that it's not confined to just one person, that I have like a few people like that have been in my life for a really long time, and kind of know me better than anyone, and can point out some shit when some shit needs to be pointed out.
It's nice to share.
And I can appreciate that.
It's nice to share when the other person has two different sides to them. Like they do care about your best interest, but they're also not going to sugarcoat anything. That's right. a rare find. In the episode as well, we also have a couple other guest appearances as well, within the wedding events, which is really fun. God, it was so beautiful. Oh, real quick, and we'll get to the guests in a second. Why did I like so much the part where the guy comes up to Julie and says, "Hey, were you the girl?" He was one of the 9, and the 10 plus 1. He was one of the people in the the story. No. And the way she just was so, oh yes, all right, I'll never forget. So good.
He's like, well, you want it? She's like, can't.
No, but the boyfriend, yeah.
But you do you. Yeah, good job.
Oh man, I loved that. I love how funny.
people embraced different things, right? Like, not to be ashamed of anything, just be like, oh, that's how I know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than when it's swept.
Yeah, just to treat it like it's a normal thing.
Yeah,
because
if you say don't look down, people are going to look down. If you sweep it under the rug, then things are done a little more in the dark or whatever.
Right, but then that means something that you're ashamed of. And if you're, like, just because someone else is ashamed of it doesn't mean you have to be.
And again, Arthur, you knew what type of film she enjoyed. This tracks. This is her character, and we love to see it.
Yeah, but that wedding was amazing, and the officiant was even better. Miss Amy Sedaris, who was always hysterical in everything that she's in, and I love that this is her second character in the series.
Yeah, and she's talking to Debbie Harry's character Kiki, I guess. You have the keys to my heart.
And it's just so great. I mean, you've got Debbie Harry on the organ, and then you've got, Amy Sedaris officiating. I mean, what could be such a better thing? Everybody's happy, genuinely happy, and ready to do this. But of course, there's no happy endings in this show.
But we're so excited, though. At this point, we are so excited. We've got the perfect wedding, the perfect Julie moment. She just accomplished a couple things. Billy was there for his friend. So we're feeling good about it. Matthew is crying down the aisle. Dun, 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 dun. What the heck happened? Elmer just he had his last laugh, I guess.
He lived his best life to the end. He, down to that, the happiest day of his life was unfortunately the last day.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you got to go out, I mean, what better way, right? When you're just like ridiculously happy.
Ridiculously in love. So excited about Matthew. The funny part, though, is just the quick chord change and Matthew being like, I could never. Okay, here's the sheet music.
This happens like 3 times a week.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, it's like I could never. Okay, but here you go. And then the Ave Maria, like. This show is so funny to me.
I mean, we're going from a wedding to a funeral. What the?
Amy Sedaris' character goes, don't worry, this happens all the time. All the time. And even when she was in her book, she's like, sweet 16. I think she mentioned some unmentionable stuff too in the book. I hadn't caught that originally. I'm like, oh my God, this is so funny. These group of characters.
Yeah.
What a thrill it must have been to be on any episode when this was airing, but like a finale episode. I think the finale of season 1 and the finale of season 2, and of course 3. What a thrill that must have been to be on set. You know what I mean? It just had to be electric.
It just, had to be just, such good energy, and just, the writing is so great, and just kind of like bringing everything in and to a close, and you can't help but to laugh at the tragedy, because it doesn't have to be that tragic, I guess. Is kind of the moral of it, right?
Very good.
Like, tragedy doesn't have to be that bad. So.
And the best part about it is when they're done, they get a little dose of real life, because life is short. And we had asked earlier in the early set of recaps, we're like, oh yeah, they never take the train, they never take the subway. The one time they do is when it's on high alert. This is typical them.
Why not?
Yeah. Because in normal because they were a little tired of the overpriced and asinine what is it, the
apps with
the rideshare apps.
The rideshare apps with like the facial hair, and then one looked like a vagina. Like, it was insane. Like, it was like ridiculous. She's like,
did you ever think getting in this vehicle would be the last time you'd ever breathe air? Like, it's just so bad.
I mean, such a great episode, and I'm so excited for the next season.
Yeah, I felt like this was the most human we saw of Billy, so that like leads to a really good season 3. That wraps it up. Last notes are just, of course, support our sponsor, Viridian Row, viridianrow.com. It's on the bottom of our if you're watching us visually through YouTube or whatnot. You could spell it. Viridian's the color of greenish. It's like a green. Yeah.
So. It's like a blue greenish color. And they also do custom stuff. So if there's if you go on the site, there's not something you get inspired for something else, like shoot them an email and they can customize something for you.
And they are the reason we've kept the lights on that also turn off during our episode. And if you were listening audio only and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? It's that in the middle of the show, the lights just stopped working. So I guess we just have to adapt, right?
That's
which
what
is
we
to
do
s-
best.
which is to say we've had other problems similar, which was the whole reason. I don't know. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Until the next one, Kellie. Bye.
See you in season 3.